Everybody's going crazy about you, baby. Crazy about you, baby. See, I'm just free and school. That's the way it should be. You're cruising on.
Hi all. I'm in Surrey again. You know I come to Surrey a lot. I keep saying this tonight, but it's a good area for me to do mileage when I'm working. Good distance for me to cover in a day, and there's always something interesting to show you here. So this is another of them places. This is the original church of St. Peter and Paul at a village called Albury, which is, let's think, it's along the A25, just to the west of Surrey, another village that I filmed quite a few times. This little church, it stands all on its own in a country estate here. The rest of the estate is completely private nowadays, but you can have access to this church because it's a very historic church. It's Saxon, you know, and I'm always looking for Saxon churches and Saxon buildings, and this is one of those because they're rare to find in stone, as I'm always whittering on about. Most of the tower is original Saxon, that stonework there, and some of the church is medieval. Let's think, this pre-Norman conquest, which is of course 1066, this dates this pre that, and this is around about the year 1000 AD that this was built. Nice porch. This is medieval. Lovely. Really, really nice. It's interesting for a couple of reasons, this place. Just open this. This is for keeping birds out. Yeah, I've got it all to myself. As you can see, it's pretty empty now. It's disused, and it's been this way since mid-1800s, about 1841. I'll get to that in a minute, though, because this church, St. Peter and St. Paul at Albury, used to stand right in the centre of the village. As you can see now, it's a country estate, and there's no village here. That's because a chap called Captain Finch bought the manor house, which is just over the back there, in 1782. Decided he wanted the whole of the estate to himself, didn't want any scruffy villagers and their hovels in the grounds of his manor house. So he pestered them, basically, and forced them off the land and made them move about half a mile down the road, which the area there, that became the new village of Albury. Leaving this church standing all on its own on the estate. And they're pretty mean, those landowners in those days. You know, this is a common thing in them days. Look at the brickwork above the arch there. Really nice. This is the oldest part of the church. You can see where it's been repaired with later brickwork there, but this stonework here, this is Saxon. And the cornerstones, strangely, which aren't done in a normal Saxon layout, not Saxon or Norman. Just used whatever stones they could find, I suppose, and carved them into squares. Usually they're long and shorts, which I've described before to you, the way they're laid out. But those aren't Saxon or Norman in the way they're made. Let's see, so here's the tower. You can look right up into the single bell there at the top. This church is still used just 3 times a year, which is a bit sad, isn't it? That, you know, by the mid-1840s, 1841, the chap that owned this estate then, whose name was Drummond, he had another church built in the village that everyone had been moved to, or created for them, and he had the church built there so this one could stay on the estate without anybody coming and bothering him. And he had this bit added just for himself and his family, which, you know, it's the only ornate bit in the place. I noticed as well, really unusual, all of these windows, they had a completely plain, no stained glass. Now, I don't know if the stained glass was moved into the later church, I don't know, but the only stained glass in the place is in his own chapel that he had built, which is that window there, and it's here. You know, these rich landowning families, you know, they've got a very high opinion of themselves. Of course, they're much more special than us commoners, so there's the chapel for his family. The rest of us can take a leap, basically. Yeah, an interesting church, though. It says a lot. Oh, look at that. Just before I go, I just noticed that wall there. Look at this wall painting. That's interesting. Now, I haven't seen anything in the history of the place to describe this. But let's see, this is a galleon. This is a chap holding. Who would he be? It's an interesting painting, that. I think I'm going to have to do a bit of research on that. It's obviously very old. Yeah, there's nothing in the history of this place that describes that painting. It's very interesting. Anyway, let's take you outside and show you where the place is situated and tell you a bit more about it, because it's got some other interesting history of this place. Let's keep the birds out. So here we are. This is the main approach to it now, which is the road, private road to the estate and the big house, which is just over the back here. Over there, the big house. You can see it with the sun. There it is, just appearing there. So that's where the landowners lived, and decided to decimate the village, which would have existed all around here, all of this area. But you know, it is quite beautiful the way it is. Look at this fabulous pine tree. Absolutely wonderful. But you know, luckily, probably to the annoyance of the present owners of the big house there, they have to still allow access along the private road to get to this church, which is now looked after by Church Conservation Trust. But you know, I like to do film locations sometimes in these things, and this is another film location as well. They used this in 4 Weddings and a Funeral in 1994, and I've never seen that film. You know, it's a bit of a chick flick, isn't it? And 1994 it would have been, wouldn't it? Yeah, an era when bad period of time for me. You know, if I can't sit and watch that film, it just brings back too many bad memories. And even the song, you know, that wet, wet, wet song, I can't listen to that. I have to turn it off straight away. Hits me right in the stomach if it comes on the radio. But, you know, I can just imagine Andy McDowell standing outside here with Hugh Grant. Be worth watching just for Andy McDowell, really. One of my favourites. But I've not bothered. The house over about there, it's got some really interesting chimneys. Now, you might think chimneys aren't very interesting at all, but they were designed by a famous architect whose name has completely gone from my memory at the moment. But Albury village became quite famous for these chimneys, because as well as putting them on the big manor house, we'd have to get closer for me to show you if we're not allowed, but as well as putting them on the manor house, some of the houses in Albury village, the new village down the road here, I've got them as well, and they're very tall chimneys with a twist to them, like a candlestick, like a barley sugar stick. You remember when we were kids? I don't know if you can still get those barley sugar twists. And Albury is quite famous for that. The Albury chimneys, they're called. Quite lovely, as is the rest of the place. Yeah, really nice. The estate now, it's thousands of acres and lots of woodland, and strangely, this is the estate where the logs came from that built the log cabin that we're just building at the rescue ranch. If you follow me on some other sites that I've got Instagram and my own sites, Julian Amos 6, you'll probably have seen the log cabin we're building, which has been very slow. We're still just got the shell up at the moment, still no roof or doors and windows, which are coming this month hopefully. But the trees came from this estate, Douglas firs. So I've got quite an attachment to this area. Anyhow, nice and peaceful, all to myself, which is the way I like it. Bike's nice and safe, no other motorcyclists looking at it, so I won't get into trouble for having it photographed, which happens occasionally. And this is where I am for lunch today, on the bench here. I'm going to settle down and have a sandwich and a cup of tea. Anyhow, see if I can get the sun right. There we go. That's all for me for now, and hope you found that interesting, and I'll see you soon.
As clear as the sky is blue, as deep as the ocean's hue, I love to be with you. Come, let me stroke your face, sit in some lonely place, makes me feel close to you. Just answer simply the questions raised, wandering round this maze, what can we do? The sunset haze holding my steady gaze, here in my lonely place, what can we do? Give up the whole idea, hiding the feelings here, and trapped in an embrace with you. No chance of saying grace, glance at your smiling face, holding me true to you. Just answer simply the questions raised, wandering round this maze, what can we do? The sunset haze holding my steady gaze, here in my lonely place, what can we do? Keys in the lock, so holding marking time, taken by softly carried through on this rhyme, marking time through this rhyme. As clear as the sky is blue, as deep as the ocean's hue, I'd love to see you too. Come, let me stroke your face, sit in some lonely place, makes me feel close to you. Just answer simply the questions raised, wandering round this maze, what can we do? The sunset haze holding my steady gaze, here in my lonely place, what can we do? Just answer simply the questions raised, wandering round this maze, what can we do? The sunset haze holding my steady gaze, here in my lonely place, what can we do?